Describe the role the United States should play in the Middle East peace process. You have 2 minutes.
Well, thank you, Rabbi, and I want to thank everybody for being here this evening. And a special thanks to Shai. And it's great to see so many young people. We actually hope to see you up on stage someday soon. As we look at what the role the United States plays in the peace process, I think it's important, first of all, to recognize that we need to have strong leadership. We need to talk about making sure the world knows that the United States stands shoulder to shoulder with the state of Israel, that there is no daylight. And when it comes to leadership, I think that's absolutely vital. The 10th District has had strong leadership when it comes to the U.S.-Israel relationship. And one of the things that I'm certainly proud of is the fact that the U.S.-Israel relationship is not about right versus left. It's about right versus wrong. And when it comes to leadership, we've had certainly strong leadership with Senator Mark Kirk when he was congressman here. I'm pleased to make sure that you all know that I've received Senator Kirk's endorsement because he needs people to work with him. From my perspective, we need a role to be an unwavering support of Israel. We need to make sure that we stand up to a growing delegitimization effort that is growing around the world today. And that's something that we have to stand up to. We have to recognize that Iran, and we have a leadership deficit in Washington. We've got obviously what's happening in Syria, what's happening in Russia, what's happening in Israel with Hamas. But have we taken our eye off the ball with the one true threat that we have to our own national security here today? And that's a nuclear armed Iran. It's incumbent upon us to make sure that we not only use our votes, but our voice on the floor of the United States Congress to hold the administration accountable and to hold, frankly, the State Department accountable when they don't do the things necessary to make sure the world knows that a strong U.S.-Israel relationship is absolutely vital, not just for Israel, but for the United States.
Describe the role the U.S. should play in the Middle East peace process.
Thank you, Rabbi. Thank you again for hosting this critical forum. It's important that we're here, and that we're here recognizing students. I was here 4 years ago when my son Adam was with the questionnaires. This is wonderful. If we're going to work to make Middle East peace in Israel, I agree with Mr. Dold. Number one issue is we have to prevent Iran from having a nuclear weapon. That's why I was proud last year to help introduce the Nuclear Iran Prevention Act. I was the only person allowed to speak on the floor on behalf of that. It passed the House overwhelmingly. We have to make sure that every pathway for nuclear weapon in Iran is closed, not just temporarily but permanently. And if there is a deal to come in November, that's a deal that lasts not just for a number of years, but for generations, to make sure that the regime that's in charge today will no longer be in control when that deal comes to an end. We have to block Iran's nuclear weapons capability. We can talk about ISIS. ISIS is an organization that is a clear and present threat, not just to the region, but to countries around it and to the United States. You need to look no further than the tragic beheadings of the 2 U.S. journalists, the British journalists, and the beheadings that's taking place there. It's a threat to the destabilization of the region. Our critical allies, Jordan, countries like Lebanon, Turkey, Saudi Arabia. So we have to stand up to people living under the brutal rule of ISIS. I voted last month to support the Department of Defense training vetted rebels fighting ISIS, and we can provide them with close air support. And lastly, it's Israel, our most important critical strategic ally. I was pleased to introduce legislation to extend the Qualitative Military Edge Enhancement Act. It passed last year unanimously. And I was pleased to introduce legislation this year to put sanctions on Hezbollah, to make sure that they couldn't access international markets, international financial institutions. And again, that bill passed this summer, and I hope it will pass the Senate this fall. We have to stand with Israel. We have to stand shoulder to shoulder, and I look forward to working in Congress to do just that.